She came home early. And someone else was laughing in her bedroom. The train rocked gently as Olivia stared out the window, watching the countryside blur by. She was mad at herself. The original plan. Sleep through the ride. Reality. A massive cup of train station coffee and zero chance of rest. And whose fault was that? Eric, her colleague who was supposed to coordinate her arrival, had mixed up the timing. In a rush, she'd skipped breakfast, packed last minute, and worst of all, forgot the souvenirs she'd bought for her parents, husband, his brother and mother-in-law. She cringed. But there was no time to turn back. She'd just find something last minute at the local gift shop. A little white lie never hurt anyone, as long as they were smiling in the end. Thinking of family led her thoughts to Andrew. How was he? They'd only spoken a couple of times in the past month. Always busy, always vague. He said work had picked up, maybe a promotion. He never shared much about work anyway. Just the occasional rant about clients or management. Their relationship. Well, the spark had dulled long ago. But that didn't scare Olivia. She never expected love to stay shiny forever. 10 years together had given them something else. Stability, comfort, trust. Or so she thought. Back when they were young and wild and full of caffeine and dreams, Olivia and Andrew used to plan ridiculous things. 10 kids. Cozy house in the country. A vintage Beetle in the driveway. France in the spring. Jobs that made them feel alive. And somehow they'd all stay young forever. Even their parents. She smiled faintly at the memory, watching her reflection flicker in the window. None of it happened. Instead of kids, they had Baxter, a giant Great Dane who cost more in vet bills than some people spent raising children. Instead of a country cottage, they lived in a sleek townhouse designed by the city's trendiest architect. Beautiful. Expensive. Half empty. The Beetle. She'd wanted it. A little silver one. But Andrew wanted a rugged SUV. He won. She didn't mind. At least, that's what she told herself. They never made it to France together. She'd gone to the beach twice, with girlfriends. Andrew preferred snow, skiing, mountain trips with his buddy Eric. He never even asked her to come. He knew she'd say no. And she would've. Their parents. Shrinking, softer versions of themselves. Wrinkled. She took care of hers and his. Paid the medical bills. Booked the appointments. Never once complained. Andrew. He'd put on a little weight. A little bald patch was peeking through. Olivia. Thinner. Sharper. She'd lost softness over the years. Lost warmth. Lost the ability to call herself beautiful without hesitation. But work. Work loved her back. Not glamorous but stable. Well-paying. Respected. Andrew, not so much. He spent years finding himself, while Olivia pulled triple shifts. Eventually, he settled into a mid-level manager role and stayed there. Content. His younger colleagues called him the furniture. To his face, polite. Behind his back. Joke. I'll surprise him. Maybe he'll smile again. Olivia thought about calling Andrew, then changed her mind. A little surprise might do them good. Something spontaneous. Shake-up. Maybe he'd be happy to see her. Maybe that tired, flat expression he always wore would crack. Maybe, just maybe, he'd even smile. But as she tried to picture his face lighting up, she couldn't. She couldn't remember the last time he'd looked genuinely surprised, or excited, or full of joy. The image that came to mind was distant, neutral, faded. She frowned at the thought. Had he always been this dull? Or had time stripped him of color? Her train arrived earlier than expected. No need to rush now. She gathered her things carefully, triple-checked for any forgotten items. At the station, she lingered for a few minutes, drawn in by a street musician playing something soulful and raw, something that tugged at old memories. Moved, she walked over and dropped a large bill into his open guitar case. "You only play on the street?" she asked. "Wherever they let me," he smiled. "Give me your number. I might have a gig for you." She left, pleased with herself. Maybe she could hire him for a little romantic dinner at home. Surprise Andrew with something real. Next stop, gift shop. She picked out 2 brooches, one for her mother, one for her mother-in-law, nearly identical to avoid drama. Good whiskey for both dads. A novelty beer mug and a limited edition craft brew for Eric, Andrew's brother. Then, almost as an afterthought, she asked the shopkeeper for help with a gift for a man who already had everything. He handed her a sleek calligraphy pen with a matching ink pot. Elegant. Old school. Conversation piece. Perfect, she said. Hungry after the long ride, Olivia stopped at her favorite restaurant. She ordered takeout, his favorite and hers, and while waiting, boredom nudged her thumb toward her phone. Hey Eric, she texted. Back in town. Got promoted again, smirking face, wanna celebrate. Come by tonight. A reply came fast. Oh yes. What time? She smiled. Perfect. A casual dinner, some laughter. Maybe Andrew would even be pleasantly surprised. By the time she pulled into their driveway, it was already dark. She cursed under her breath when the motion sensor light didn't come on again. Still broken. She made a mental note to fix it, or to nag Andrew until he did. She noticed the lights on inside on the first floor. Quietly, she kicked off her heels and crept toward the door. Might as well keep the surprise going. But Andrew wasn't downstairs. He checked every room. Me. Then a sound from upstairs. Laughter. Female. And just like that, the realization hit her. Where's Baxter? Their giant Great Dane always greeted her like she'd been gone for years. He was nowhere. That laughter again. Intimate. Relaxed. Too relaxed. Olivia stood still. She, the independent woman, the one who paid the bills, the one who held everything together, was now the cliché. The unannounced wife coming home to find her bedroom defiled. Heart pounding, she found Baxter in his kennel outside. He wagged once, as if confused. She clipped on his leash, muttered "guard," and stormed inside, this time without tiptoeing. The stairs blurred under her angry feet. She pushed open the bedroom door. And the ink flew. It wasn't my husband in our bed. Ink exploded like a midnight storm. Dark blue splattered across sheets, pillows, walls, and 2 very naked bodies entangled on her bed. Baxter growled low behind her, obedient and ready, but Olivia raised a hand to stop him. She couldn't even speak. Her breath caught somewhere between rage and disbelief. And then, Olivia! The man on the bed turned, wiping ink from his face. His arms, chest, even his hair were streaked in blue. He stared at her in stunned confusion. Seriously, it was Eric, Andrew's brother. He spread his blue hands in disbelief, gesturing to his equally blue-skinned companion, a petite, equally mortified blonde trying to hide behind him. Liv, really? Ink. She mimicked his hand motion in silence, then suddenly turned away, realizing Eric was completely naked. She stormed downstairs, still gripping Baxter's leash. Her hands shook. Then, without warning, she burst out laughing. She laughed so hard she couldn't breathe. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Baxter tilted his head at her, unsure if she was losing her mind. The front door clicked open. Olivia! Andrew's voice rang out. You're home. Oh my God, I missed you so much. He dropped everything and ran to her, planting kisses all over her stunned face. Is everything okay? Why are you? Then he looked up. From the staircase descended 2 people. Still dripping blue. Still mostly undressed. Andrew blinked. Eric coughed. So, about that. This isn't what it looks like. Wait, no, actually, it is. He scratched his ink-streaked neck. You said I could crash here. I didn't think Olivia would be back so soon. Behind him, the girl whispered. This stuff doesn't wash off, babe. I tried everything. Andrew turned to his wife, eyebrows raised. You did this. Olivia wiped her eyes and grinned. I thought you were cheating on me. In our bed. There was a pause. Then Andrew doubled over, laughing. Covered in blue. And somehow closer than ever. Dinner plans were clearly off the table. Instead, they ended up sitting on the couch, Olivia in Andrew's oversized hoodie, Andrew still chuckling between bites of takeout, and Eric in the guest bathroom trying to scrub ink off places ink was never meant to reach. "Do you know how long this stuff lasts?" he yelled from upstairs. "Forever, hopefully," Olivia called back, grinning into her noodles. It turned into one of the strangest, funniest evenings they'd ever had. Eric came down looking like a bruised smurf. His girlfriend, Violet, had pulled her hair into a bun and borrowed one of Olivia's robes. She avoided eye contact but muttered a shy "thank you" before curling up on a different chair. Andrew. He kept staring at his wife. Really staring. Not the blank look she'd grown used to. Not the distracted glances between TV ads. He looked awake, amused, even a little turned on. "You thought I was cheating on you?" he said softly, nudging her with his knee. "I didn't think. I reacted," she replied, then added with a smirk. "And I aimed well." "You did. Legendary aim," he laughed. "Remind me never to make you jealous again." Later that night, lying in their still blue-splattered bed, Olivia curled into his chest. Andrew kissed her forehead. "I forgot you had that kind of fire," he whispered. "I forgot you liked it," she whispered back. New chapters, blueberries, and a baby on the way. Something shifted after that night. Not just in their home, which now had permanently stained linens and a Great Dane that growled every time Eric visited, but in their marriage. Andrew looked at Olivia differently now. He started texting her in the middle of the day. Left her little notes in the kitchen. Bought her flowers for no reason. They started going on actual dates again. Live music. Candlelit dinners. She even brought back that street musician. And Andrew cried when he played their song, the one they'd danced to at their wedding. Olivia hadn't even known he remembered. Then came the news. She was late. Took the test. Took another. 2 lines. "Are you serious?" Andrew had whispered, eyes wide. "We're having a baby." She nodded, smiling through tears. And in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not missed vacations, not old dreams, not the blue-streaked ceiling they still hadn't repainted. Andrew changed jobs. Better pay. More flexibility. He wanted to be present, to build something real for this new little life they'd created. Olivia relaxed in ways she hadn't in years. She still worked but slower, softer, started baking more, singing more, let herself nap in the afternoons. And she craved blue food. Blueberries, blue corn chips, blue smoothies. One morning, Andrew pointed at her untouched bowl of strawberries. "You only eat the blue ones now," he teased. She glanced at the nearly empty bowl of blueberries, then at him. They both burst out laughing. The blue wedding photo. Eric did get married. Eventually. Yes, to Violet, the girl he brought into his brother's bed. Yes, despite the blue ink incident, which had gone mildly viral on Reddit after an anonymous friend posted about it. Olivia swore it wasn't her, probably. The wedding was beautiful. Beachside. Sunset. But the real showstopper. A framed photo displayed at the entrance. Eric and Violet, mid-laugh, still covered in blue, taken that chaotic night in Andrew and Olivia's house. Guests loved it. "Bold choice," someone whispered. "It's iconic," Violet grinned. It became a kind of family legend. The Blue Affair, as Andrew jokingly called it during toasts. Even Olivia had to admit, for all the awkwardness and chaos, it brought them closer. All of them. Andrew and Olivia eventually did go to France. Much later. With a toddler in tow and a stroller filled with teething toys, blue pacifiers and crushed blueberries. They stood in Montmartre, watching street artists sketch lovers on cobblestones. Andrew slipped an arm around her. 10 years ago, I might have bought you a silver ring," he whispered. "But today, I'd buy you blue ink and a backup Great Dane." She laughed, leaned her head on his shoulder and said, "Let's buy both."